Hello, this is Randall Meek again with the Philippines Project. I'm here to tell you a quick story about what is the Philippines Project and how it came into being. Real quick, the inspiration for this video is through one of my subscribers. Her name is Summer Love. I appreciate you commenting, and this is your video. Now first, if you like the content on the channel, I would encourage you to like and subscribe. Go down right now and hit the subscribe button in the lower right hand corner. You'll see a little YouTube symbol there. Just click on that and you'll be able to subscribe, and you won't even have to get off the channel. So that's nice. It's a little feature I put in there, and so I like that a lot. Also, if you have a comment or a question, go down in the comment section and please leave a comment for me. If you watch this channel at all, you'll know that I'll most likely get back with you. So anyway, what's the Philippines Project? Why did I name it the Philippines Project? I've had that name in my head, and actually I had a blog years ago about it was entitled the Philippines Project, and it all goes back the kind of the history or the reason for the Philippines Project. It just kind of encapsulates all of my experiences since I started coming to the Philippines in 2007. You know, when I first came to the Philippines, it had a tremendous impact on my life. And you know, the first time I came on the stories of my wife that she would tell me. And I think I mentioned in another video, maybe not, but on Saturday mornings, once she came to America, and we were living there together, we got married, and she used to tell me stories about the Philippines, about her growing up in the Philippines, and you know, all the things that happened, about her being with her grandma and grandpa, and living there with her dad and her mom, and just all the little things that, you know, these little stories she could tell me. And I would just lay in bed after working all week, get up on a Saturday morning, and we wouldn't even have our coffee. We just lay there in bed. And, you know, I just would ask her, well, hey, you know, tell me some more stories about the Philippines, because she'd done it for a few weeks or whatever, or a few times. And it just really became one of the favorite parts of us being together. I heard these great stories from, you know, how she grew up. And of course, she told me some stories in Singapore, stuff like that, about things that happened there. But the Philippines Project started there because it kind of developed in me a hunger to want to visit the Philippines. And aside from the fact I had told in a previous video that my brother had passed away in the Philippines when he was in the Air Force, just not too far from Clark Air Force Base. So I kind of had a strong tie back to the Philippines. And so yeah, we started coming in 2007. And I have a whole video on that. I'll try to put up in the description, or I'll try to put a link up there so you can click on that video if you haven't seen that yet, about my first trip to the Philippines. And that first trip really made a huge impression on me. It was just a lot of things. It was I think one thing, it was really the people and how they treated me. You know, I think about it sitting right here, I really hadn't thought about it that way, but just the way I was treated when I came here. I mean, you're treated as a guest, and not just by, you know, those of your family or anything like that. You're treated as a guest by, you know, everybody, pretty much. You know, you'll find some rude people anywhere you go, but I found the Filipino people to be very friendly, and you hear that a lot if you're listening to expat blogs and different videos on the Philippines. All the people, you know, they're very friendly, and if you've never been here, I'll just have to say this: you really need to experience it firsthand. So the Philippines Project really started with when I landed in the country and how my in-laws and everybody treated me at the time. I mean, if you walk into a group of people, for instance, we were having a dinner at her grandma's house, and of course it's outside in this little alleyway, and there's all these plastic chairs set up in the alley, and they got this old-fashioned TV sitting down, seemed like down that alley a little bit, but they had a pretty good setup, and And if you know anything about being in the Philippines, they love karaoke. So they had got out the karaoke machine. They probably rented it, but they'd got a karaoke machine out, and they had all these plastic chairs lined up, and their uncles and aunts and children and everybody's in the alley, some people in the house. There's a lot of cooking going on. It's just a big family get together like that. And I'll have to say, it's a get together like we don't have back in the United States usually. And that's, I'm going to take the blame for that. But as a culture, we don't get together like the Filipinos do. So one way that, if I would walk out of the house and go want to sit down, and some kid is in the chair, they'd make that kid get up here. No, you sit here, sit in the best spot. Get some water or whatever. It's like they were trying to protect me or something. I don't know, but their hospitality was just so much over the top, and that really made an impression on me there. And I'd never been treated that well before. I've never been respected like that, and in America, everything's not bad, but it's just such an overwhelming hospitality here that it really just kind of takes you back a little bit, and you're like, wow, you know what? This is maybe how things used to be in America. I don't know. I don't know if that's a proper analysis. You can make your own judge when you get here. You be your own judge when you get here. But I'm telling you, they made me feel welcome, if nothing else. They gave of everything they had. They gave their food, and the food was different, and a lot of it was cooked, over open flame, and some of it was cooked in the ground, and it was a good time, and some of the other experiences there, it was the heat was a new thing for me. I mean, of course, I've been hot before, but in the Philippines, if you live in a province and you don't have air conditioning, there's no escape from it. So I spent probably 2 weeks, my first trip, without any kind of air conditioning whatsoever. We might have had a hotel stay once or twice, 1 or 2 nights. I can't really remember. I'm not really trying to recall all that stuff now. But what I'm trying to say is just the experiences. In another video, in the first time I visited the Philippines in 2007, there's a video that talks about the morning routine, talks about the evening routine, and I was amazed how little television was watched here. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, it's hot in the house, usually in the daytime. Number two, it's hot, you want to be outside. And number two, there's nothing on TV anyway, pretty much, back then especially. Now we've got Wi-Fi here at the house, we've got Netflix, Prime, YouTube, anything you want to watch, you can see it. But back then, it really made an impression on me that, to live without air conditioning for a couple of weeks in 93 plus, degree weather. It was hot, but the fact that I survived and the realization that most people don't live like we do in America. And I don't know if you're American, Filipino who's watching this, from some other country, or you're from the West, or who knows. But I just remember it like this. I was taking a walk with my youngest daughter one day after I came back, and we took a little walk, and we were walking down the road, and I can remember it's just a little curve in the road, and she said, it's probably August. She said, Dad, it's really hot out. And I said, yeah, it is. I said, there's people all over the world that live like this every day. And I was thinking back then about the Philippines and all the Filipino people, and even in our neighborhood, a lot of people have some air conditioning, at least in one room, but it's just a different experience being here. It's just a different experience. So when I went back home, all these memories are in my heart, right? And really, I just say it just really planted a seed in my soul at that point. It was such a different, visceral experience in my life. I just say it changed me. I mentioned, in another video, how I first met my wife in Singapore, and I put that video up in the top of the screen. You can link on that if you haven't watched that. But it just really changed me in the sense of I just always felt a pull to come back. And I don't know, it just would come up at different times. I mean, my wife would talk about when we was back in the Philippines. Then we also had this big thing in common. We both, you know, she grew up there, but I had also been there too. And I would encourage husbands, you know, of Filipino wives, if you live in the United States or living in, you know, in Europe somewhere or somewhere else other than the Philippines, to get that Filipino wife back home sometime, because it's really good for their soul, to be honest, and it's good for my soul to come back here. It's just something about it. It just is. But yeah, me and my wife had a lot more in common. Not to say we shared a lot of experience. We'd been married 7 years before we ever came back to the Philippines, so we had a lot in common. But what I'm saying is, we had this in common: the trip and experience of being in the Philippines that we never had before, and that's very important. And so, as time went by, we would go back probably a year and a half to 2 years. I would always say, "Honey, let's go back. Let's go back." So, well, she'd say, "Next year, we'll go back next year." I'm like, I'd get frustrated. I was like, "What do you mean next year?" "Well, you know, it's going to cost so much money or whatever, you know." And she just wasn't in a real hurry to get back. She wanted to go back. I'm not saying she didn't want to come back, because she enjoys her time here. But it wasn't like me. I guess it was that new experience thing. I wanted to experience that again, you know. And so we would go back about every year and a half to every 2 years. And then I don't even know how many times that was. We'd been back several times. One time we did a lot of traveling. We went to Banaue. We were in Manila. We went to Banaue. We went to Cebu. We went to Bohol. You know, and you know, we just went all over, and I can't even remember all the places we went. And so, you know, just these experiences just kept pulling me back. And again, I started a blog called the Philippines Project, which is no longer around. I'd pulled the plug on it some years ago because I just wasn't doing anything with it. But the Philippines really changed me. And it changed me for the better, I believe. I'm more relaxed now than I probably have been in years, especially since I'm retired. But yeah, I mean, it changed me on the inside. My wife has taught me how to take things a little slower, have a lot more patience, be a lot more tolerant of other people. And the whole culmination of the travel back, you know, all the experiences we had, and actually building a house here in the Philippines, I guess all encapsulated in the changes that it's been in my life. That's what the Philippines Project is about. And I wish I had a 1, 2, or 3 bullet point thing I could say, but you know, it's given me a lot of experience here. It's given me a lot of knowledge to draw on. If somebody asks me a question about the Philippines, I amaze myself sometimes. I'm pretty quick with the answer. Now, am I the most knowledgeable person out there? No. There's guys that's lived here for 20 years. There's guys that lived here for 5 or 6 years. But there's also a lot of guys here that, I mean, they're here. I don't know why, because they don't seem to have really a whole lot good to say about the Philippines, and they complain a lot. They're not all like that. A lot of great guys, a lot of guys love it here, and a lot of guys with more experience than me, and I'll be the first to recommend you to some of these guys. In fact, 2 guys that I follow, if you follow my channel, most likely you've seen these guys. Paul in the Philippines, it's called Old Dog New Tricks. Paul, I've mentioned him before. I want to try to put a link. I'm going to put a few links in this video. What I like about Paul is he's a good storyteller, and he can be. And he does interviews on people, but that's one thing that's really good. He's got an infectious laugh. He really, how do I say it? If he interviews somebody, he's very tactful, very polite, very diplomatic, and he's not too opinionated on. I'm sure he has his own opinions on stuff. When it comes to video, You know, he's pretty across the board. He's not going to try to piss anybody off. I like that. He's got a good friend, the guy. He's got a big channel, Every Man Has a Story. And if you just look that up, Every Man Has a Story, Philippines. This guy interviews hundreds of guys, hundreds of expats that live here. And oh my gosh, oh yeah, the Philippines Info channel. This guy puts out a lot of videos, and they may not all pertain to your situation at the time, but he's got enough content you can search and you can find something that you're looking for. And these guys have a lot more experience being here than what I do. But I have been coming here since 2007, and that's why I developed the Philippines Project, because I had something to share. It's something I'm passionate, very, very passionate about. Something I love. I love Filipino food. I love all kinds of food, but I'm gonna see how far I'm going into this video. I don't want to make it too long, but sometimes I run off on a tangent. But I think since I've been here this last time, one thing that's really overlooked in vlogging and expat videos like this, and I don't really know how to stress it enough, and I think even Filipinos overlook this. The fruits and vegetables and the food here is so fresh and available and pretty cheap. You can go any day you want, go in and buy the freshest produce that you're going to find anywhere. My wife back at home, you know, well, I don't want that. I said, well, let's get this. It's frozen. No, I don't want. It's not fresh. It's not the same. And here you can get fresh produce. A lot of it, and sometimes it's a little repetitive. It's the same stuff, but you know, you have available to you more fresh produce and meats here on a daily basis than I think you do anywhere else. Now, Singapore's got a lot of stuff too, but in the Philippines, it's grown close. It's trucked in. It doesn't even spoil on the truck. You know, it's just put out there. And this is Sunday, and they have a open market today down in town, and they just have tables and tables and tables of fish and produce and all that stuff. And that, to me, the people and the food is the best of the Philippines. I think a guy could get healthy if he just watched what he eats and really just enjoy the pure essence of everything that's actually coming from the Philippines. So if you like this content, please subscribe if you haven't done so. If you have a comment, go down in the comment sections and ask me a question. I will answer you. If you haven't hit the notification bell to make sure that you know that a new video is out, please hit the notification bell. And real quick, and I'm almost done, tonight, this video, look at the time on it, tonight at 8:30 Filipino time, my wife is going to be on the channel. Me and my wife are going to have a video or have a live stream about OFWs, and she's agreed to do it, and she's going to be there, and she really will do well on camera. She doesn't think she will, but you know, she really does well. She's smart, and she's funny, and I just love her to death. And we have a great chemistry, her and I. So watch tonight at 8:30. The Philippines Project's going to have a live stream tonight. So go on YouTube and you can sign up for it. You can even leave a comment there. And if you have a question about OFWs, if you're from the West, or you know, if you've never been an overseas Filipino worker and you're in the Philippines, ask away, and we'll try to get your questions answered tonight. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and we're up a little bit over 2,500 subscribers, and that is all up to you. That's all your work, and I appreciate that. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Hi guys. to get that one?
Do you have your mask?
Yeah.